and what is the importance of peer review, and what kind of difficulties you can have when you are peer reviewing, and how you have to give your feedback, what could be the best tips for reviewing, and how to write a constructive peer review. So when we talk about peer review, so what it is, because when you receive a manuscript or a book chapter or a piece of work for review, so it shows that it is the first stage of discussion, communication among scientists as a reviewer as well as author. So peer review, this is mostly it is considered when we are trying to publish in an academic journal or in a book chapter for a publisher. So this is process used in academic publishing to assess the quality, validity, integrity, and relevance of research paper before it is published. It's very, very important. It has very vital role in ensuring the integrity of the scientific record. As a reviewer, you need to see that studies which are going to be published, these should be scientifically relevant. When I say scientifically relevant with respect to research article, what does it mean? It means that it should be scientifically sound. It should have a scientifically sound, rigorous methodology, research questions, and appropriate method should be there. Similarly, there should be suitable analysis, and the article or the manuscript should contribute in the field where it is going to be published. And similarly, it should also follow the community agreed standards, because it should follow all the ethical consideration as well as the format which is considered by the journal. So when we talk what is the importance, what is the significance of peer review? It is a win-win situation for everyone, for editor, for reviewers, for authors, for readers, so for everyone. So when we are talking about authors, for editors, because it helps to decide what to publish and where. Because when you are providing your review, it helps for the editor that if this paper should be published in their journal, and then it improves the plagiarism and the integrity issue detection, as well as it involves expert to guide future direction of the journal. For reviewers, it has a lot of benefits. For example, if you are a reviewer, you will keep informed with the innovative research even before it is going to publish. And it will definitely improve your reputation as a reviewer, as an author, as a scientist. And definitely you will have collaboration with different scientists, and it will allow the contribution to advancement. You will have satisfaction that you are contributing to the advancement of knowledge. For authors, it will improve the manuscript, it will strengthen the legitimacy of the final published work. Because sometimes if you, when I receive review from my reviewers on my paper, then most of the time my paper is, if it is 10 pages, but I receive a review report of 12, 15 pages. So it from different three reviewers. So definitely, when you will integrate the comments and the feedback of reviewers in your paper, it will improve the published work, which you will publish afterward. And it may spark ideas for future research, because reviewers, they provide you some feedback, some suggestions that how you can improve it, how you can publish new work in future. So a lot of new ideas. For readers, it provides assurance of an article's scientific validity, and it supports the readers in making an informed judgment. And when we are talking about community, it maintains standard of scientific quality and ensure the next generation of researchers as well as public that they are taught correctly. So it has a lot of benefits for everyone. Uh, But there are some difficulties which reviewers are experiencing when they receive invitation from the editor. According to Global Reviewer Survey 2018 report, 70% of the researchers, they decline review requests due to the lack of expertise. So it means that a lot of awareness session and mastering your skills, it should be there, that they give it reviewers, they learn that how they can provide constructive feedback. So this is the reason that 10% of the reviewers, they handle 50% of the all peer reviews. And definitely this can lead to reviewers fatigue. So when you receive a paper or manuscript, then you have to give your feedback. So your feedback, as I'm saying again and again, that it should be constructive. It should not just criticism. So you have to gain a clear grasp of the meaning of the section. You can provide further feedback on the presentation of the material, because sometimes if you receive a review from someone, most of the time they are talking about the presentation of the findings, presentation of your different section. But when you are providing review, then you should see that you have to think about the meaning of the section first, and then move towards the presentation afterward. Indicate elements that seem unnecessary or whose purpose is unclear. Sometimes when you are reading a paper, some sections are these are not necessary. These are not needed there. So definitely when you are reviewing, you can identify those. It shows which passages do not flow well and why not. Because the writing is a very messy process, and it should be like a drama, like the one scene, the other scene are connected to each other. Similarly, in the writing, the paragraphs should be connected to each other. And when you are reviewing the paper, you can find such type of disconnection. So point out gaps between ideas. George Mason University provides very good tips for reviewing. They started that first you have to say something positive. It should not be like you are writing review and then you start with criticism. No, first you say something positive, and then you identify the things which need improvement, and talk about your responses while reading the work. For example, it should be interactive. Like when I read this sentence, I wondered if the paragraph was not going to be about this topic. So definitely you can ask many questions. Um, Criticize the writing, not the writer. Because sometimes when we writing the review, we say, "Oh, you did not do this. Did not do so. You wrote this way." So in this way we are criticizing the writer. No, here we have to criticize we have to provide our critic on the writing. So instead of telling someone they have trouble staying on topic, say something like, this paragraph doesn't seem to support your thesis, your finding, your conclusion. So you can say, you can write in this way. You have to be very specific. If you make a statement about lack of organization in the paper, so you have to be sure to point out a specific place in the writer's draft. For example, if you are providing some statement that some sentences are vague, then you have to provide some examples that which are the specific sentences which are vague or not clear. And then you need to prioritize your comments, start with the bigger concerns, the quality of the argument, thesis, and the structure of the paper. And then afterward, move towards the small issue like wordiness, grammar, punctuation. But first, identify the main issues. And then summarize the comments in a paragraph, one or two paragraph. But it doesn't like you are writing the whole paper. So you can provide very clear comments, but you don't need to write the whole paragraph again. Uh, and provide your peer with the considerate and thorough feedback you would want to, because when I want to receive a feedback on my paper, I want that it should be very it should not be like two or three lines or two or three paragraphs. It should be very detailed. So you have to follow the sandwich method. Like you first, when you start with the review, writing your review, begin with the positive comments, and then you provide your critic on the work. For example, it should be constructive criticism, follow with the constructive suggestion for the improvement. Like if you are saying that this is the problem, but then you can provide the suggestion that how you can resolve this issue, how you can present your findings. And then when you conclude the review, then you can provide like some encouraging remarks. So because these kind of review motivate the authors, and they revise the paper very energetically, otherwise they are discouraged. So Barbara Grant, she is the professor of education, and she provided very good tips that how you can provide your constructive response. So, because when you are writing review, what is your immediate impression after reading this paper? Pick a few keywords from that manuscript. So what are the immediate strands you see in the piece? Because it is not like this that there are just only you are providing criticism, but at the same time you can identify the strengths. So at least you have to identify two or three, and you have to be very focused, very clear. How well is the focus thesis developed? Because you have to see that sometimes the title of the topic of the paper is different, and the discussion in the paper is totally different, and learning is going in different directions. So you have to see that how well is the focus. Is supporting information clear, relevant, and presented in an orderly fashion? How well does the writer integrate the primary and secondary sources? Because when someone is writing a paper, 70% should be published literature, and definitely 30% you can take grade literature. But there should be clear demarcation. It's not like this that the most of the work which is cited, it's on the basis of secondary sources. So if you find sometime something like this, you can identify. You can identify where is the problem, and has the writer intent been clearly communicated? Because sometimes your subject is different, and the paper should be for all the readers. It should not be specific to a limited readers. So you have to use the language. You have to see that if they have used the language that it is understandable for all the specialty people and the readers. So has the writer voice come to life for you? Can you describe where their voice is most alive and powerful? Where is it weak? Because sometimes they say that we have done like this, but sometimes it's very weak. So as a reviewer, you can identify such kind of weaknesses as well. And then it's when you are reviewing, it's very, very important that the manuscript, it should have methodological rigor. And when I'm saying methodological rigor, it means that it should be methodologically sound. For example, you will see that the sampling is in analytical paper, what kind of sampling they have used, if this is scientific way of using it, sufficient use of control experiment, precision of the process data, regularity of the sampling in time-dependent studies, validity of the questions, detailed methodology. Sometimes when I receive the paper, the methodology is very small section of the paper. So they have provided all the sections which should be provided in the methodology section. It should be there. It should be presented very systematically. If it is a qualitative research, then it should extend beyond the author's opinion, with sufficient descriptive elements and appropriate quotes, because sometimes they provide the just general statements, but there should be appropriate quotes from the interviews or focus group discussions. Similarly, you have to see the tables, you have to see the figures, images, and you have to see that if data is sufficient, it is clear, or sometimes if you read the tables, there is some contradictory data is also there. So you have to identify such type of weakness. So when you are reviewing, it's not only for the peer review, but also you can also be copy editor and development editor as well. So for peer reviewing, What is the main your objective is to highlight the specific areas of strengths and areas need improvement. You use the example from the work to illustrate the points, and provide a mix of positive and critical feedback. It's not like this, all the things are positive or all the things are negative. It should not like this. It should be a mix of positive and critical feedback. So as I said, start with the positive comments and evaluate the arguments, evidence, and the structure of the manuscript. And you have to avoid the personal opinions because it should be very scientific. But if you are providing your personal opinion, then it is not scientific. And the first important, very important thing, that the language should be very respectful. When you're writing your review, your language should be very respectful. Um, you should provide suggestion rather than commands, and your review should be very clear. Important advices should be there so they can improve their paper. But if you are copy editing, then it means that the main objective is check for the grammar, punctuation, spelling, and error. So it's important that you have to ensure the consistency in style and formatting, because sometimes they are following American Psychological Association, seventh edition, but something are different. They are using from Chicago style, or from formatting is in different ways. So you have to see there should be consistency, and you have to suggest the changes to improve the clarity and readability. You have to remove the redundant words, verify the facts, dates, and references, ensure the use of correct terminology, and maintain the consistency in tone, tense, and style. And definitely, every journal, they have their own publication style. So you have to see if these papers, they have followed all the guidelines given by the journal. But if you are working as a developmental editor and you want to edit some work, so you have to address the overall structure, flow, and organization. And you need to evaluate the coherence and logic of the narrative, assess the pacing and progression of the plot, ensure the central theme is clear and effectively conveyed. So you have to provide your feedback on how to better connect with the reader. So definitely, if you are reviewing, you can act as a peer reviewer, as a you can also review work as copy editor and development editor, but you have to think that what is the objective of review, so you move accordingly. Um, while you are reviewing, there are basic tenets of peer review you have to follow. These are the basic tenets, are five, that if you receive some paper for review, and you think that if there is some conflict of interest, you have worked with the author somewhere, or you have published some paper with them, so then there is any conflict of interest. So, but you have to decline the review if you think that there is any conflict of interest. Um, um, when you are reviewing, you are providing advice to the journal editor. You are not deciding. Yeah, you can just provide that if this paper is should be published in their journals. So you are not deciding because editor is deciding, but on the basis of your review. So you have to advise the journal editor that if it is suitable for their journals, try to be helpful and always respectful to the author. For example, if you are using language, it should be very respectful. And it's very important because most of the work which is sent to you for review, it's confidential because it's not published yet. So maintain the confidentiality of the paper's contents, and decline the review if you think that you are very busy and the topic is not of your interest and you did not work on these topics. So you can inform editor if there is anything like this. So, and while writing your review, avoid the biases, anonymity, maintain, and meet the deadlines. So these are the basic tenets which, when you are deciding to review a manuscript. So this is all about. Feel free to ask questions. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Dr. Rubina. So unfortunately, the second expert that was lined up for today is not well, and she is not here with us. So apologies for that. But I would like to pick up something that can, strengthen the presentation that is just being offered by Dr. Rubina. So we have talked about AI, and we talk about AI in about everything that we do as researchers. So very quickly, I'm going to take you through the role of AI in peer review. So give me a minute if I may share my screen with you. All right, so I'm sure that you can see my screen. Yeah, great. So AI in peer review, what is it all about? Does it limit us or does it become unethical? I'm going to touch upon these key, you know, thoughts maybe that people may think about the role of AI in a negative way, especially in the peer reviewing. So there are plenty of tools, and AI continues to strengthen us, the reviewers, in the process of peer review. So there are multiple possibilities. Firstly, it accelerates the editorial process, it enhances accuracy and consistency, reduces human bias, and supports ethical and quality standards. The quality standards and the ethical guidelines that we talked about in the previous webinar, as reviewers, we can't really be all the time mindful of all standards out there. So with the advent of AI, we can stay focused and we can stay mindful of all the different frameworks and pick up one of them that resonates very well with the journal in which you are for which you are serving as a peer reviewer. Some tools for you are Grammarly, Writeful, and PaperPal. This is basically to check issues with the language or with the format, with the text, the way it is being written in the paper. The technical review, we talked about it that you can detect grammar, punctuation, style, clarity issues. So all of these things can be taken care of through AI tools. Now, the second is to authenticate the content. That's also the job of the reviewer, to see if there is a lot of overlap in the research paper that has been submitted to them. And when we talk about making the research novel and unique and relevant to the needs, that's all what we want to encourage in the authors, to be unique, to focus on their own context. And the more you focus on on your own context while writing, more chances are for your research to come out to be more unique and more novel, because it's grounded in your own context. But sometimes what happens that within the same context, there are many people working on the same idea or the same project, the same kind of project, not the same project, but the same idea. Let's put it like that. Now, to identify biases, overlaps, or to see that, or to ensure if the content is authentic, there are certain tools available: Proofig, Turnitin, and Authenticate. And strongly suggest to researchers that they should use these tools before submitting their manuscripts for publication, because naturally when your manuscript goes out for peer review, for a blind peer review, the person on the other side, the expert, is also going to take a look at your work through the lens of these tools, because they, as we discussed earlier, they minimize human bias. So if you share your manuscript through, or run your manuscript through these tools, it will actually tell you how the percentage of your content which overlaps with the current research, and indicates certain areas in your research which you may build on by refining the argument, or by maybe by shifting the lens from a broader perspective to a more contextualized manner. So, and lastly, we just talked about compliance detection and plagiarism. Uh, my closing thought would be that AI doesn't replace reviewers, rather, it only empowers us. So, just like the way AI empowers researchers, and we have talked about the power of AI and how it is uplifting the quality of research. The same way, it's in empowering reviewers as well. And that's why the quality of research is now, benchmarked at a very high standard of quality. I hope I was able to cover aspects relevant to AI. Now we have opened up the chat for the audience. We encourage you to post your comments, ask questions. In the meanwhile, I'm going to take the first question. And Dr. Rubina, the pressing issue here is that, given that peer review should be objective and free from personal biases, what exactly is meant by conflict of interest in the peer review process? Would you like to take
Gee,
this
yeah.
question? Yeah.
When we say conflict of interest, because sometimes you receive the invitation for a paper manuscript from the authors with whom you have published previous work, or sometime you have worked with them on some project. So then there is conflict of interest, because authors, you have some relationship with the authors, and when you will provide your feedback, might be you are sometime you can be judgmental. So that's why I will not review the manuscript from the authors to whom I know. Because sometimes the journals, they ask that if you want to give some name of some reviewers, then most of the time authors, they give the reviewers name to whom they know. Yeah, it should not like this. You have to search different reviewers which have the same areas of interest in which you want to publish. So but sometimes we just only give name of reviewers who never publish in that area. And so then this is a real conflict of interest, because they don't know the area, and they know you, they have some kind of relationship with you. So when they will provide feedback, this will not be very scientific. Maybe sometimes they will say, oh, I know the person, I have some relationship, I have the friendship. So they will not provide you very critical and scientific review. So this is the conflict of interest.
Thank you so much. Yeah, the conflict of interest can vary. It can be personal relationship, professional interest. Maybe you know somebody from your former workplace. So Dr. Rubina has answered it kind of really comprehensively. The next question talks about that when, as seasoned researchers, when we receive the request of reviewing articles from different journals, sometimes we receive the request from unknown journals. So how
Yeah.
should we decide if we want to associate ourselves with those journals? What should be some metrics for that?
I think you don't need to accept all kind of invitation. First, you have to see the journals quality. For example, I only accept the invitation for reviewing for those journals which are indexed in Web of Science. Yeah. So, and if you are reviewing for those journals, you also get the credit of reviewing those, and then these review report will also be published with the paper. Some of the journals, they also do this. But I don't accept reviewing papers from all the journals which are not listed, which are not very scientific, because we have a lot of fake journals as well. So you have to first see the credibility of the journal and then accept the invitation.
Absolutely. I think you also should be mindful of the relevance of the scope of the journal with your own professional aspirations and your own, career pathway. If you think that your expertise resonate well with the journal, only then you should agree to review the article. And don't review the article if your expertise do not match with the journal. Sometimes I've seen people doing that just for the sake of credits. They indulge in reviews, but this in itself is an unethical practice on the for the researcher, for the reviewers, because as a reviewer you have a lot of responsibility to evaluate the content of the publication, to assess the impact of the research methodology, to identify gaps there, and to enrich through your knowledge. So if you don't have expertise in that particular field, it's highly likely that you will miss out on many chances to strengthen the understanding of the researcher who's going to receive your feedback. So the next question is about like as an editor working on a topic, if you feel strongly about that topic, how can one ensure that the personal biases don't influence the editing process? So I understand from this question that how can you maintain an unbiased approach when you're giving a review?
Yeah, definitely. When you are reviewing, your review report should not be judgmental. Yeah, you don't need to mention anything where you think that you are providing, you have some biasness. So, because this is the main, you can see the tenet of peer reviewing process, that your comment should not be biased. Because it will be biased if you are providing your own assumptions, your personal opinions. So if you are very, you provide critical but constructive review, but at the same time, you are not judgmental. And as I said earlier, that you are not, you are reviewing the work of the authors, not the authors themselves. So you need to be very critical, very constructive, but at the same time, you have to be unbiased about the different statements which are provided in the manuscript, and you have to avoid the biases, because maybe there are some your biases, and some biases related to the work you might be you have done earlier as an editor, or you publish something, you have you are the section editor for a specific theme. So, whenever you are deciding as an editor about the publication of a manuscript, it should be unbiased. Even if you are a reviewer, if you are an editor, avoid the biases, all kind of biases,
So
and
the
especially
next
personal
question,
biases.
yeah, thank you
Yeah,
so much. The next question is, as peer reviewers, should we comment on whether the article aligns with the journal's aims and scope? And should this be
definitely.
included? Yeah.
It's yes, it's very, very important point when you are providing the peer review, because uh, one of the main objective of the review is that if the manuscript is according to the aims and objective of the paper, because sometimes the paper journal is related to gynecological and obstetric diseases, but the people they are sending different manuscript related to mental health. So definitely you can publish in gynecology and obstetric if you have the paper try to provide clear link between the mental health and the gynecological disorders, definitely. But sometimes it's very different, in totally different direction, but they send the paper and I have seen that sometimes authors, when they submit the paper in a journal, they don't see the scope of the journal, they don't read the objectives and aims of the journal. So
Yeah.
whenever any author they decide about the publication of their paper, first they have to see the aims and objective. If they are clearly fall under these objectives and aims, then definitely they can send it for publication there. But this is the problem then when I review for different journals. It is one of the problems we face while reviewing. And you, definitely as a reviewer, you have to identify it.
Thank you so much. And with this, Dr. Rubina has also responded to the next question, which asks, how do you decide whether a paper should be desk rejected or sent for a review? Sometimes the papers are desk rejected solely because they don't align with the philosophy of the journal, and it's pointless to share it with the reviewers on board. So in that case, the person who would receive your manuscript is simply going to reject it, saying that it does not align with the scope of the journal. Moving on to the next question. Now, there are some questions which I'm sure you guys can find the answers to through Google. So I'm not going to take those questions, such as what's the difference between single blind and double blind review. It's pretty straightforward. Please consult Google for that. So yeah, so as reviewers, should we just outrightly reject a paper or provide constructive feedback, even if the paper quality is really bad? What do you think? How should reviewers approach a paper that's way below the expected quality? What should they do? How should they respond?
Definitely, they have to reject it. But whenever you are going to reject a paper, you have to provide a valid justification
Yeah.
that why you are going to reject it. Without justification, it's not, it is definitely is biased. So, one of the main important reason that such kind of paper are just rejected. One, you already mentioned that articles are not related to the journals, but then the other one is the methodological rigor is not there. Because if methodology is very rigorous and scientific, then definitely you can move forward. Okay, you can review it. But if you read the methodology and you find a lot of flaws there, so definitely you can desk rejection. You can do it. Yeah.
Yeah, so I'm just scanning through the questions to see if we have any other question that requires to be discussed here. So that really, brings us to the conclusion of today's session.
Sorry, Mavish, I have one comment
Sure.
regarding this AI use of AI for the peer review. It's also, yeah, it's very helpful, but at the same time, many of the journals they mention in their reviewers guideline that if
Yeah.
reviewers can use AI or not. Because, for example, just a few days back, I received a review invitation from Lancet, and they have clearly mentioned that reviewers they can't use any kind of software or AI tool for reviewing it. The manuscript. So then you have to see that what kind of guidelines is provided from the journal. So if it's clearly mentioned, so then definitely you will not use AI tool for review.
Absolutely. I completely agree with you. When I talked about using AI, that's also to strengthen our own understanding. For example, I came across this paper, I was asked to review it, and there were some percentages mentioned there, which I wanted to cross check. So I used consensus and I tried to understand if how authentic that data is. So sometimes we don't have ready access to numeric figures associated with the research findings, or maybe the premise where the researchers are building the premise for the need of that research. So you need to have understanding, a thorough understanding of the current landscape of practices. For that, AI can come in really handy. Now, where how I understand what you're saying, that if some journals give a proper direction to the reviewers for not using AI, that particularly is for composing their comments, because when you compose comments using AI, they become very non-human centric, and they are at a risk of not providing the right kind of direction to the researchers as expected from the reviewers. Another thing that I want to add here, an unsaid role of being a reviewer is to mentor researchers, to share your knowledge, to give them a way forward for successfully publishing their research in different journals. So a good journal, and when I was a student, my supervisor had always asked me to send my work to different relevant journals, and not to worry about if the paper would be published or not, because he would always tell me that, the feedback that you will receive will be an eye opener for you. It will improve and enhance the quality of your research tremendously. And it has always worked well for me. So, depending on the journal where you're sending, one of the key attributes associated with good journals are that they provide a very robust feedback to the researchers. And the bad journals just send in a very closed and non-reflective kind of feedback that researchers can probably not take ahead and build on. So that's my own personal take on this.
Yeah, thank you.
Any other comments, Dr. Rubina, to just sum up this whole webinar?
Thank you so much. I think all the researchers and the scientists who are here, they have to, because I always say to my doctoral student that if they want to learn, after completing their doctorate, they have to publish in peer-reviewed journals, because this is the best way to learn. Because first time when I sent my first paper to Violence Against Women Journal, which is like 150 years old, I received the rejection after 1 week, and but you never get disheartened. You have to try to some other journals, and definitely this is the first step which you are taking to publish in peer-reviewed journals. This is the best way of learning. And definitely you have to accept invitations for peer review. And this is also providing your feedback. This is also a best way of learning as well. Thank you.
Absolutely, it is. Sometimes reviewers are working in teams, and that can be a great learning experience. People, when you collaborate with experts from other countries and provide a review on a paper, you may explore different perspectives coming from different cultures and different other backgrounds. So with this, I'm going to close the webinar. Thank you so much, Dr. Rubina. Once again, on behalf of the CLT team, I'd like to thank you for taking out time, and for this. You have been collaborating with CLT for quite many years now. We really appreciate your dedication to serving our audience. And to the audience, I'd like to thank you for your constant interest in our series of webinars. And we'll see you again on Wednesday with new ideas and with new concepts to discuss. Until then, take care, and Khuda Hafiz.